You're watching Fox Sports, home to Major League Baseball, the Big Ten Championship, NASCAR, the UEFA Champions League Final, the UFC, and the NFL. The world's biggest events are on Fox Sports.
We are Fox Sports! We ended with so much excitement last year. But, folks, you ain't seen nothing yet.
Man, this is an event. This is a huge night.
Now's when you got to turn it up a notch. But she's going to be a wild one. We're going to see some sparks fly.
We're going to go racing. We're going to crank it up for you.
Time to go.
But when that green flag comes out, it is on. Boogity, boogity, boogity. Let's go racing, boys.
Get behind you.
After 5 generations of stock cars made to look good and go fast, now the 6th generation has arrived. Tonight, you'll see NASCAR's best drivers for the first time race in the Gen 6 car. It's Saturday night, and we're live from Daytona. We welcome you to the Sprint Unlimited, presented by Sprint. Weather cool and breezy for this time of year in Central Florida. Temperature in the 40s by the end of the race, and glad you're with us for NASCAR on Fox. The Hollywood Hotel is trackside here in Daytona. Thanks for having us in your living room, on your laptop, wherever you're watching. I'm Chris Myers, along with two-time Daytona 500 champ Michael Waltrip, and the current, the reigning Sprint Cup champion. You saw him last year on the Blue Deuce, Brad Keselowski. Congrats on the championship. You begin defense of that title a week from tomorrow in the Daytona 500.
Yes, we do. But before the Daytona 500, we have tonight,
yes,
Sprint Unlimited, a chance to see what we've all got.
You ran in this last year. Of course, you have to be a pole winner or have won this event previously to run. So what will you learn tonight in the new Generation 6 car that you might carry forward or watching other drivers?
Well, I'm going to be doing a lot of watching, Chris. There's no doubt about that. But it's colder. It's a lot cooler than what we have for the Daytona 500. So it's a little different circumstance, but a brand new race, a lot of opportunity for action.
Nice to see him out of his fire suit and an anchorman suit, right?
Yeah, he looks totally professional.
Cleans up real good. You both were actually driving in the car. We've seen the cosmetic look. The Gen 6 car is more like the showroom car, Ford, Chevy, Toyota. But, Mike, what's the difference when we watch it on the racetrack?
A couple of things I took away from today's practice session is you can really see out of these cars. The visibility's good. The spoiler in the back is smaller. So these guys are going to be able to look around and make moves and be confident about whether they have room to do that or not. The second thing is they don't handle that great here at Daytona. As we race forward with this Gen 6 car, it's got a lot of downforce. But NASCAR purposely took some of that downforce away for the races here at Daytona. And they handle pretty good when no one's pushing on you. But, Chris, you know what happens when they throw the green flag? They start pushing on each other.
Yeah, and Brad, Rex, early you found out how wild that can be.
Oh, absolutely. Well, I mean, here we are. We had testing and we had practice. And between the two, we couldn't make it more than 10 laps without wrecking half the field. I don't see why it would be any different today.
Look at you. You're right up in the middle of this crash. The car just gets turned sideways on the straightaway. You never know where you're going to wreck at Daytona.
The straightaway is the hardest part. The way the rear ends and the rear suspensions are in these cars, it's very easy to get spun down the straightaway.
I've heard a lot of things about this new car, the Gen 6, the equalizer, or it will reward the elite driver more so. Which is it?
Ooh, I think, anytime a new race car comes out, the cream rises to the top.
And I just love Kyle Busch, the way he drives one of these race cars. We saw him sideways winning that race a year ago. Jimmy Johnson is another guy in this field tonight that drives right on the edge of control. I'm shocked he won 5 championships. He would spin out about every other week sometimes, just getting a feel of the car. That shows you what kind of driver he is. Racing right on the edge. You got to race on the edge if you want to win tonight.
First time tonight we'll see this car, the Gen 6 car, G6, right, if that's your fun word for the night, in a race, and 4 unique elements that fans can vote on. The race format, You can vote on the pit stop after the first segment or stops the cars eliminated from the last segment. On your Sprint phone, you can also vote for Miss Sprint Cup's fire suit.
My favorite part.
You have a choice there. The results for the format are in, and you, the fans, decided on a 30-lap, then 25-lap final 20-lap segment race. We thank you for getting involved. Voting continues at NASCAR.com/sprint unlimited. So your thoughts on this format?
Well, I love the fact that the drivers went to the drivers meeting, didn't even know where they were going to start. The fans surprised them with that. And that put two guys on the front row, Carl Edwards and Mark Martin. Guess what? They crashed their primary cars. They started on the front row. They're already in the back. We're going to see that all night long in this race, mixing up the positions. I love the length of the race they picked. 20 laps at the end. These guys need that in order to position themselves and have a real shot at winning.
And Brad, more likely when it's a non-points race to be all-out aggressive.
Oh, absolutely. You know, all-out points race, you're not worried about, oh, if we wreck out of this one, my team morale is going to go down, all those other things. You don't care. I want the trophy.
We talked about certain drivers here. You figure the usual suspects like Tony Stewart, Jimmy Johnson, quick to adapt to a new car. What kind of race count once we get rolling, and might there be a surprise driver who shows up and handles this ahead of the rest?
Well, I think it's going to be a tremendous amount of learning early in the going. We talked about not being able to push each other. We talked about the practice crashes. That's some of the things these guys have dealt with before. But Tony Stewart's won this baby 3 times. You'll have to look for Tony to be tough. But I like Denny Hamlin's attitude. I like how fast his Toyota Camry is, and he seems to be fired up to run this race tonight. He's going to be my pick.
Well, we've already had 500 practice, which was a great indicator of whose cars have what speeds. And the 2 cars that really stuck out in my mind, Tony Stewart, Kevin Harvick.
Yeah, and you'll be watching tonight. What will you be watching to learn in the new Gen 6 car or about your competition?
Well, I think the biggest thing is trying to figure out how easy is it to push, and will they wreck each other when you do? We don't know. We've seen from testing. We don't know. I'm a driver. I have no idea. We're going to find out tonight.
I just can't wait to watch it all unfold. We have a lot of questions that will be answered during the course of this race, and it's going to be fun to see these guys learn how to use these cars, learn how to use those bumpers, and learn how to get to the front and put yourself in a position to win.
You're enjoying your championship so far, right?
I am. I've had a few times to enjoy it, and I hope I can do it again.
And we look forward to that defense again, opening a week from tomorrow at the Daytona 500. Front row qualifying for the 500 tomorrow here on Fox. But tonight, 19 drivers over 3 segments. You, the fan, have a lot to say about how it all plays out. We'll watch it unfold in the new Gen 6 car. You're watching NASCAR on Fox, live from Daytona, and we'll continue in just a moment. The Sprint Unlimited live from Daytona International Speedway. We're glad you're with us for NASCAR on Fox, the start of the 2013 season. Dale Earnhardt Jr. going against Martin Truex tonight. There's Jeff Gordon. Kevin Harvick has won this event twice before. And his latest family edition, Keelan. There's a Generation Y driver for the Gen 6 car. Let's head down trackside here in Daytona.
Ladies and gentlemen, at this time, please rise and remove your hats as the Daytona Beach Police Department Honor Guard present our nation's colors. Please remain standing as Sonny Gallman from the Central Baptist Church in Daytona Beach offers our invocation.
Loving God, we are so grateful for this day. We know that you have made it, and so we're glad to stop in it and give you thanks. We ask that you would be with those who are part of this evening's race. Be with the drivers and with their crew, keep them safe and free from injury. We ask that you'd be with those who stand for freedom and justice around the world. Pray that you would allow them to return home as soon as possible. We ask all these things in your name. Amen.
Here to perform our national anthem, please welcome Daytona Beach native Melissa Tenbrook.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets regular, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave.
Let's hear it for Melissa Tinbrook and her performance of our national anthem.
The 35th such event, the Sprint Unlimited, but the first race with the Generation 6 cars. We'll tell you about setting the Twitter universe on fire in a moment. Last year at Daytona, you remember the crash. There was fire and rain. There was a delay, and the tweet heard round the world from Brad Keselowski, who wound up being the champ. And we welcome you back live at our Hollywood Hotel trackside in Daytona with Brad Keselowski, and your Twitter account leaped through the at more than 100,000.
Yes, over 200,000 thanks to Fox. I can't believe how many people were watching the tailgas and thought, I should see what this guy has to say.
You wound up being the champion. They supported you, and already he's getting tweets about why he's not in the race. Both Clint Boyer and yourself finishing 1-2 in the championship points race last year. You had to win a pole again or have won this race previously to be in the Sprint Unlimited event tonight. You're on MW55 on Twitter, and of course, you guys will be tweeting during the race. You're going to stay with us and get some analysis and points of view.
Yeah, and you talked about Clint Boyer not being in this race. He's already tweeted and said, man, I know why I want to win a pole in 2013. You got to win a pole to race tonight, and these guys want to be racing, right, Brad?
Oh, I want to be in this race in the worst way. There's so much to learn, so much to do. I'm a racer. I want to race. There is no part of me that doesn't want to be here. But at the end of the day, this isn't T-ball. This is professional motorsports. We didn't earn it. We don't get to play.
And you'll take something from this and use it as we go forward. We'll watch that closely because certainly the new car, the Gen 6 car that we're all excited to see race for the first time, lighter and faster. You're not sure what's going to happen tonight.
I don't know how you can be sure. There's so many variables out there right now, Chris. I mean, this car is different in the pack. It's different with the way it wears the tires. It's different with how it's going to use gas. I mean, it's different across the board.
But there's one thing that's the same, and that's the drivers. And they're fast and they're crazy.
And they're the best drivers in the world. We told you about the unique fan involvement with the Sprint Unlimited. Jeff Hammond, always involved when he's near a track or at a track, and he's here tonight. Jeff, where exactly are you, Jeff Hammond?
Well, man, it's up here in the grandstands with the fans, Chris. I mean, let's face it, this is a fans race, and we're ready to vote, right? Everybody's ready to vote. I got my Sprint phone out here. I'm ready to help kind of like, maybe influence what's going to happen here in these next couple of segments. I'm having a great time. It's trying to get time to get this racing started because, hey, stock car racing is now back at Daytona, and we're excited to be right here and ready to go on Fox.
And it's great that you get to listen in to the driver communication, although we all know the rules that drivers can't communicate with each other while they're racing, which always makes it interesting here. So Brad's going to stay with Michael and I throughout the race to watch with you and give some analysis and tweet as well. Kyle Busch, by the way, the Las Vegas favorite for tonight's race, the defending champ of this event. The Sprint Unlimited on the air here on NASCAR on Fox.
And now, for the most famous words in motorsports, please welcome your Grand Marshal for the Sprint Unlimited, Sprint fan Charles Young.
Drivers, start your engines!
Brad, Michael, and I will be watching from the Hollywood Hotel, and I'm sure you guys will be exchanging thoughts with the guys upstairs. Darrell Waltrip, Larry McReynolds, Brad's already tweeting.
I'll be answering questions on Twitter.
And Mike Joy, not only the new car, the Gen 6 car, but there's a lot of new things to be excited about in this new 2013 season.
Absolutely, Chris. Tonight, a lot of new rules and new procedures. We're excited about being here, but we're just a little worrisome because there is so much unknown about how this car will race. Buddy Baker won the first running of this race, Dale Earnhardt the second. But in 1981, NASCAR introduced a whole new generation of car, Generation 3, and its first checkered flag was taken by Darrell Waltrip in this race. How'd you do it?
Well, Mike, here's something we can always, cars change, times change, but drivers don't. What I did that night is the same thing we're going to see here tonight. I wanted it worse than anybody else, and I was willing to take chances in that race that the other guys weren't willing to take. I passed Benny Parsons coming to the checkered flag on the apron to win that race. A bold move, but it got me a checkered flag. That's what it's going to take tonight. A bold move, that'll get you a checkered flag.
Larry, in January testing and last night, we've had so little drafting practice. Do we really know how much we don't know about what this car will do?
No doubt, Mike, the key word of this whole evening is the unknown. With the car that we've raced here for the last number of years, I had a pretty thick notebook. I'm just starting to put pages in that notebook with this new car. I have no idea how it's going to handle for him, how it's going to draft up for him, and when I make adjustments, I really don't know how the car is going to respond. I'm going to start building that notebook tonight, but right now, it's a complete clean sheet of paper.
So we're ready to race into the great unknown tonight live on Fox in an event that began as the Busch Clash, became the Bud Shootout, and is now the Sprint Unlimited. It's the debut of a brand new platform.
There's so much excitement about these new Gen 6 race cars.
This is Generation 6.
And now, beginning this weekend, the 6th generation of speed as we work our way toward the Daytona 500. They're up on the banking in turns 1 and 2 on the west side of this 2.5-mile trioval. Here's the starting lineup the fans chose for the Sprint Unlimited. Carl Edwards won the pole, first one of the year last year at Daytona, so he gets the pole. Mark Martin, second pole winner, outside. Casey Kane and Greg Biffle. Denny Hamlin and Martin Truex in Toyotas. Hamlin, a past winner. Jeff Gordon, two-time winner. And Eric Almirola, the only first-timer in the Unlimited. Joey Logano and Marcus Ambrose with 2 poles apiece last year. Jimmy Johnson, 4 poles. He won it in 05. Matt Kenseth has 2 pole positions. Kyle Busch, the defending champion of this race, and won Pablo Montoya, who had 2 poles last year. Tony Stewart, 3-time winner of the Unlimited, and Dale Earnhardt Jr. won the pole at the Fall Richmond race to make it in. Past winners in the field include Kevin Harvick, Kurt Busch, and Terry Labonte. 19 drivers to start. 22 were eligible. 19 are ready to roll and try to win $205,000 to the winner.
Mike, let's talk to the man that ran second in this race last year. He's got 18 wins at this racetrack. Tony Stewart, it's DW. You got a copy, buddy?
Yes, sir.
Smoke, everybody's raving about this car. It's a beautiful race car. Look, it looks really, really racy. How's it going to race and how's it going to drive tonight?
Well, give me 10 minutes and I'll have a lot better answer. I think a lot of us are sitting here wondering the same question right now, but, you know, we watched yesterday and, you know, the test, nobody knows even if we can push with these cars, so, but you're going to find somebody that's going to try it here in the first 5 or 10 laps, so I just think everybody's going to kind of feel it out here for a couple laps and see what we really have in a pack this big, and then we'll know what we can.
So you've won this thing 3 times. You were second here last year. What kind of move do you think it'll take to win it this year?
Again, that's kind of the hard part. Nobody really knows, but you're gonna have to be aggressive. There's no doubt. It doesn't matter what car it is. To win these things, you got to be aggressive, and you got to be at the right place at the right time. And you know, nobody knows what the winning move's going to be yet. But I imagine it's. I don't think you're going to be able to wait till turn 4 on the last corner of the last lap like we're used to.
Well, here's good news. I just looked up aggressive in the dictionary, and there's a picture of Tony Stewart. Go get him there, Smoke.
Everybody, thanks.
Tony Stewart, 3-time winner. A lot of new rules here. Fans have already voted as to the race format. The race will be 3 segments. Those were the 3 choices, and the runaway winner. 30 laps, followed by 25, followed by a 20-lap final segment. Now, you can still vote on your smartphone or at NASCAR.com/SprintUnlimited for the pit stop after segment 1. No stop required, 2 tires required, or 4 tires. You can vote for how many cars should be eliminated from the race at the end of segment 2, and you can also vote on which of 3 fire suits the Sprint Cup can wear to victory lane. Vote often. Matt Yoakum.
Mike,
Mike, with so much uncertainty going into tonight's race, Jeff Gordon told me that tonight is all about education and opportunity. For the first time in 6 or 7 years, he feels like drivers have so much more control over their own destiny of who they want to team up with and strategy on the racetrack. But the biggest thing he's curious about tonight, looking ahead to next weekend's 500s, will we see 5 or 6 guys be able to lock up and pull a breakaway? Just so much unknown going into this weekend. Steve Burns?
Thank you, Matt. I agree with Michael Waltrip. This is a Kyle Busch kind of a race, the defending champion of this event. But really, this night is about putting 2012 behind him. He won just once and failed to make the chase. He just told his spotter, we are trying to learn about the closing distances for these cars tonight, so pay attention to that. Now let's go to the fabulous Chris Devoto.
Thank you, Steve. Well, he switched teams, colors, and manufacturers at the ripe old age of 40. Everything old is new again for Matt Kenseth. Now, yesterday, he took 100% of the blame for a wreck in practice. But just a few moments ago, he came on the radio and told his team, boys, I have been waiting for this day for a long time.
So, Mike, let me ask you a question. What do you call a test that you have to get, you got to cram, and you got to get it done, and you got to figure out, and you're going to take that test right now tonight? What do you call that?
Well, I'd call this midterm exams, the final exam being next Sunday's Daytona 500.
I'd call it a crash course.
Ooh. It is chilly here in Daytona Beach. Right now it's 51 degrees. Overnight it is expected to drop into the 30s. Partly cloudy skies, and once again 3 segments, 30 laps, 25 laps, and 20 laps. Fuel window 40 to 44 laps. That will play into race strategy. We understand that Dale Earnhardt Jr. told his crew about his car, hope you ain't real attached to this thing.
I like that. Yeah, baby.
You saw the 3 drivers that'll go to the rear, and that's because of the practice crash last night, just 9 laps into the session. And that pretty much ended any big pack drafting for the Sprint Unlimited cars.
Hey, Darrell, I've never heard drivers talking like they are tonight. They're getting ready to dive off into turn 1, going side by side at 200 miles an hour. No idea what they're going to have. How are these guys going to survive these first few laps?
Michael, what they've got to do is they've got to quickly unlearn what they've been doing here the last couple of years. They've got to realize they cannot do that pushing thing, that bump drafting, and getting up on somebody and shoving them all the way around this racetrack. They've got to wipe that out of their mind, and they've got to slowly, they got to creep up on this thing, which is kind of odd to say about a race car, but they got to creep up on this drafting thing tonight before they wreck everybody in the field.
We'll remind you tonight's telecast is available in Spanish on Fox Deportes. Leading the field is the street version of the new Chevy SS introduced to the public today. And that is the car that Chevrolet is racing in the Sprint Cup Series this year, along with the new Ford Fusion and the Toyota Camry. 19 cars ready to go for segment 1, 30 laps. When the green flag waves, voting ends on what the pit stop will be at the end of this segment. So here's the moment we've all waited 3 months for. Time for the pace car to dip onto pit road, and for Sprint Cup drivers, 19 of them, to see their first green flag of 2013. Pace cars in. Here they come. Who's going to win the Sprint Unlimited?
Boogity, boogity, boogity! Let's go racing, boys!
Looked like Hamlin on the inside, pushing Kane down toward turn number 1. 2 by 2. It's a Noah's Ark of cars off the corner.
It looked like Martin Truex Jr. in that 56. He's pushing Greg Biffle in the 16. Got a great run down the back straightaway.
They know they can push pretty well going in a straight line. They kind of get off each other in the corners. I don't think I'd want to try that going through the turn, but they may. See him back off a little bit there. Give him some room. They may not do that as the night goes on, but that's kind of the right way to start this show off. And I believe these guys heard me, Mike, when I said, let's go racing, boys. They ain't messing around.
Greg Biffle leads the first lap from Casey Kane, Denny Hamlin, and Martin Truex. And fans have voted. At the end of this segment, it will be 4 tires required to be changed.
And you're looking at Greg Biffle. What did he run third here in the Daytona 500 last year? Pushed his teammate Matt Kenseth most of the race, but ended up third, getting passed by Dale Jr. on the last lap.
Ford, Chevy, Toyota, 1, 2, 3, and here comes Truex on the outside with Eric Almirola in the 43.
This is something I'll be anxious to watch, because if you go back to last year, even when the outside line would get lined up, they just couldn't clear that inside line, even with a long line of cars. And they do it for just a second, but it's like they just can't get there.
Yeah, and Larry, again, I think that's the unknown. I mean, these guys are not sure where to go with these cars or what these cars are really capable of in this kind of situation. The last time we saw this, we wrecked a lot of cars on the back straightaway.
Well, the outside line pulled up even with Truex on point, but could not complete the pass. Look at Earnhardt, way up high, 5th in line on the outside in the 88.
Yeah, but you saw Biffle there in the 16 car. He didn't have any help. Casey Kane in the 5 is not up on his back bumper, and he just couldn't hold those guys on the outside off.
Up into the banking from the gyro cam, which stays vertical as the track tilts 31 degrees.
It's just part of what a driver has to deal with. The banking, the car up in the banking, it makes it hard to see. You're getting forced down in the seat, a lot of G forces. That is a great shot.
Harvick pulls up on Carl Edwards in the 99. And now Mark Martin ahead as Edwards dropped to the inside.
And Larry,
one car to pit road, Terry Labonte.
We talk about these cars and whether the outside or inside will work. If a car is free, and we think these cars might be a little free, a little loose, you're going to run that higher line so you don't have to crank it down in the corner on the bottom so hard. So the outside may turn out to be the way to go.
Labonte takes his car to the garage, leaving 18 to fight for the lead off turn 4.
Teammates working together there. Jeff Gordon in the 24 just let Casey Kane in the 5 slide down in front of him.
Truex's Toyota out in front of a pair of Fords. Marcus Ambrose, Eric Almirola, teammates for Richard Petty in the 9 and 43, and we're 3 wide.
Yeah, you saw Matt Kenseth in that yellow 20 car. He was getting a push from Dale Earnhardt Jr. in the 88. Now he's going to jump down to the bottom in front of Ambrose in the 9.
That 20 car is stout. Matt Kenseth looks really good in that car. He was upset with himself about a wreck he caused yesterday, but it hadn't affected the way he's racing tonight.
Almirola goes from 2nd to 17th in the length of the backstretch. Stuck in the middle.
Sucker hole.
Mark Martin there right now in the 55, middle, 3 wide.
But Larry, already, I mean, I feel pretty good. We're racing here 3 wide, and we're racing pretty hard. Everything looks to be going pretty smooth so far.
Jeff Gordon and 2 other cars losing a bit of touch with the pack down on the inside and drifting backwards. You're riding with Earnhardt. Truex ahead in the Napa car.
See, that's another thing, Mike, these guys don't know. Can I fall back and can I pull myself back up? That's something they'll be working on.
They're going to have to find out, because this foursome led by Jeff Gordon in the 24 are losing touch with the leaders. Mark Martin still stuck in the middle, this time at the back of the pack, and sparks flew from his number 55, as you'll see here from Harvick's on board.
That looks like the splitter might be dragging just a little bit, Larry, and the car's just running the nose a little too close to the track and sparking.
Here comes Earnhardt up the outside, 3 wide once again. And then he takes it and slices right to the bottom in 4th place.
It's like you can definitely make a move on the high side, but the minute you can get down to the bottom, definitely think that's the way to go.
Matt Kenseth is the leader. Krista's in his pit.
Mike, and not just is Matt Kenseth working with a new team, a new crew chief in Jason Ratcliffe, but also a new spotter in Chris Osborne. Chris telling Matt, don't get too far out there. We need these guys to stay with us.
Kenseth, Ambrose, and Biffle. A Toyota leading 2 Fords as we complete 7 laps. The Sprint Unlimited. We're just getting started.
Following all new Monday at 9, 8 Central.
NASCAR on Fox from Daytona, the Sprint Unlimited race break, and your leader is Matt Kenseth. He's led the most laps, the first of 3 segments tonight. Among the 19 drivers, we've had 3 different lead changes, 3 different leaders. You, the fan, can vote on your Sprint phone. Thanks for getting involved. After this first segment of 30 laps, we asked, no pit stop, 2 tires, 4 tires. 63% of you said 4 tires, so we are going to have a 4-tire stop.
And these drivers, Chris, these cars are going to get more and more nervous every lap that goes by. You saw them 3 wide early. Now they're 2 wide. They'll try 3 wide again, but these things are going to get difficult to drive by the time we get out toward lap 30.
You can go to NASCAR.com, and you saw the Myers in the Hollywood Hotel, and Brad Keselowski, the reigning NASCAR champ, is with us when the race started. Right away, Brad, you shouted out, they're already pushing.
That's what it's going to take to make a move here, but we're already starting to see the cream rise to the top. Tony Stewart, he's coming. Matt Kenseth, he's been fast all along, and he drove right to the front.
I heard you mention synchronized driving.
Yeah, that's what this is early in the going, and you can do that when the tires are fresh. But the more laps they get on them, the more margin of error you need. And you know what the ironic thing about that is, Chris? As the laps wind down, people aren't going to give you any room.
We'll have a lot more to say after that first segment. Let's go back upstairs. Join again Darrell, Larry, and Mike.
Thanks, Chris. Completing 12, or 13 rather, of 30 laps in the first of 3 segments tonight in the Sprint Unlimited. Matt Kenseth has led all but the first couple of laps. So far, Marcus Ambrose in the 9, Greg Biffle in the 16, unable to challenge, but here comes Stewart steaming up the outside in the number 14.
Why has he won this race 3 times? Why did he run second here last year? Because he was not content. Brad Paisley could have written a song there a little bit ago about we were single file for a while. But now he went to the outside, and, man, he's trying to get to the front. I think he's going to make it. He's got some good help there with Jimmy Johnson.
Yeah, he's got a little bit of help from 2 of the Hendrick drivers, Jimmy Johnson in the 48 and Casey Kane in the 5.
There is Greg Biffle on the left, and the number 16 Ford. Here's Steve.
And Mike, his spotter Joel Edmonds is talking about what the guys behind him are doing. You heard Kyle Busch talk about closing rate. That's exactly what Joel Edmonds is doing.
Stewart gets tagged and holds on. Behind him, they're going to pile up. Hamlin, Johnson, Busch, Martin, Gordon.
And Tony Stewart cut down in front of Matt Kenseth.
I guess we're going.
Got a little bit loose, but then these other guys reacted to it, and they all crashed.
The defending champion of the Sprint Unlimited, Kyle Busch, heavy damage.
Mike,
that 1969 Daytona yellow on Jimmy Johnson's car, Corvette color. Not much left of it. Mark Martin torn up.
When you watch this, Mike, you're going to see that Matt Kenseth sees Tony Stewart's got to push. He pulls up in front of Tony Stewart. When they get to turn 1, Tony dives to the bottom, but he clips Matt. And Tony almost wrecked, but he hung on.
First caution flag at 15 laps complete. Halfway through the first segment, you see drivers climbing out to assess the damage.
See, watch.
All right, we're going to have a look at Tony Stewart and the 9 of Marcus Ambrose to the inside.
See, Tony right here, he's got Matt's going high. Tony says, I'm going to get under him right here, and he just gets the clip by Marcus Ambrose just a little bit in the 9, and then these guys all react to it.
Hamlin hit the brakes. His teammate Kyle Busch got in the back of him. That pushed him up into somebody else, and away they go.
And Mark Martin almost made it through, got hit in that right rear, and shot to the outside wall.
Montoya, who has lost an engine in Daytona 500 qualifying practice and was in the wreck yesterday, sneaks through.
Watch his 55 car. He's going to get clipped right here when he's trying to get by right there, and man, he nails that outside wall. See a side window pops out of the car. That was a terrible lick. That's also Mark's second car. Remember, he wrecked in the practice here yesterday.
There's a great shot of it, Darrell. He just came down and just clipped enough that it turned him sideways.
But he was able to hang on. Yeah, he was able to save it. But these other guys, they had to check up a little bit. Marcus went up the hill a tad in front of Jimmy Johnson, and here it was on from there.
29, Harvick, again for the second time in 2 days, sneaks through unscathed.
Yeah, the C's open for him.
You see Hamlin's number 11 down to the bottom. Let's ride along.
18 with you. Watch it. Hold the brake there. Hold the brake. Hold the brake. Let it roll down right there.
And now inside the low Chevy of Jimmy Johnson.
Yeah, here you're going to see Marcus Ambrose in the 9 comes up. He has to check up a little bit when he gets clipped. He'll come up right in front of Jimmy Johnson and breaks Jimmy's momentum, and when he does, they make contact.
Inside,
right here.
inside.
Here, Jimmy, get out of the gas.
We're in it, fellas.
Johnson hit from behind by Hamlin, who had been tagged by Kyle Busch.
Yeah,
as things accordioned up. Matt?
And quick conversation between Tony Stewart and spotter, referee, a veteran spotter. This was some. And Stewart said, "You didn't clear me. I thought I could make it," and he didn't. He took full apology for that incident.
Well, 2 of the Joe Gibbs cars, Hamlin and Kyle Busch. 2 of the Hendrick cars, Jeff Gordon and Jimmy Johnson. 2 of the Michael Waltrip cars, Mark Martin and Martin Truex, along with Kurt Busch. Steve Burns.
Caught up with Mark Martin. It's been 13. What?
Gosh, I hadn't seen a replay yet, but I saw a car sideways, and I thought, sideways up there, and then the cars up higher on the racetrack tangled for some reason. It really happened. We were headed, we were going to get there, and I got squeezed. I tried to squeeze Martin down. He was there. I couldn't move down any further. 24 was coming, and I couldn't move. But somebody got turned, and it looked like a crack. And gosh, we didn't get very there, did we? Everybody at Michael Waltrip Racing, fast race cars, and the 500 still to come.
Thanks, Mark. Let's go back.
Unlimiteds for Mark Martin, tying for the most. But for Mark, it's over.
Sprint Unlimited is sponsored by Sprint. Millions of fans, one family, only Sprint. Beat them all. Join the family at sprint.com/speed. Lap 15, 7 cars involved in the wreck back at the Hollywood Hotel, including Kyle Busch, who won last year. And, this is not about the generation of car, Brad Keselowski, more the generation of driver.
Well, as drivers, we're all learning. And Tony Stewart looked like he had a hole, thought he had a hole. In the old car, he might have. In this car, he didn't.
We heard Darrell talk to Tony before the race, and he said, I got to figure this thing out, DW. And right here, what a run Tony had. He's thinking lead. We've seen him be aggressive since the drop of the green. He was the first guy to shoot to the outside when things kind of strung out. He smelt the lead, dove into a hole that wasn't there. And unfortunately, a lot of really good cars were wiped out because of that.
A learning process, Mike, as we continue with the drivers in the Gen 6 car.
Yes, Chris, 7 cars involved, not including Stewart and Ambrose at the front of the field, whose initial contact triggered that pileup.
Top 5 drivers stayed out, but we had some drivers that hit pit road, like Dale Earnhardt Jr., Eric Almirola, Kevin Harvick, Casey Kane, drivers that were not involved in that crash.
Magic number 15. We've not gone 15 laps in any of these practice sessions or tonight without having something happen.
Kenseth and Stewart stayed out, along with Ambrose, the 16 of Biffle, and the 99 of Carl Edwards. They did not pit under this first caution flag of the night. We're back to green.
And Larry, one thing about this car, it may be a new car, a whole new design, but it acts a lot like that car last year. Remember how many times Kyle Busch got sideways on the apron, sparks flying, just like Tony Stewart tonight.
Well, we saw Greg Biffle down here at the test. He was basically 90 degrees and drove out of it.
Yeah, what happened down there was Marcus Ambrose had to run up the hill in front of Jimmy Johnson, and when he did, everybody accorded behind him.
Kenseth out in front. Down to Steve Burns.
Michael Kyle Busch has just assessed the damage to his race car. And Kyle, I know you don't want to be in the garage this early. Tell us about the racing out there tonight.
It wasn't bad. I mean, we really hadn't gotten going yet. I think we crashed about lap 15 or so, but just really unfortunate. I mean, we wish we could have been around a lot longer to learn some more things and see what can transpire later in the race. But I don't know what happened. I saw one car sideways on the bottom. I think it was a 14, and then the 11 and 48 got together or something, and we just got sandwiched in the fence. So all these M&M's guys, everybody on this whole JGR team, they worked too hard to get crashed out like this. But not enough pieces to go around to put this thing back in action. Plus, it's hurt on every single corner, so it's I don't think it'll see the light of day again for a while.
Thank you, Kyle. Appreciate your time. Let's go to Jeff Hammond.
Yeah, I'm here with Jimmy Johnson. Jimmy, from your viewpoint, what happened?
I saw sparks in front of me, and I'm not sure where they came from and what started that, but I saw sparks and I knew it wasn't going to end well, and sure enough was collected. So just unfortunate. Didn't get many laps, but I got a few. I got a good feel for my race car. I feel very good about our race car. I think the 14 and I were working the outside and really charging our way to the front. So I'm encouraged for our 500 car. I got some ideas for the setup. I'm just bummed out that I'm not out there racing right now.
Glad you're okay.
Oh, yeah. Thank you.
I just got to tell you, I don't believe we're done wrecking yet. These guys are, I mean, these cars are moving around a whole lot, especially when they get 2 and 3 wide. They just seem to be buffing off of each other.
And now
what
Biffle,
a move.
Look at Biffle dropping to the bottom as he got a run on the number 20 of Kenseth. And Biffle to the lead, but not for long, as Kevin Harvick in that red and white Chevy on the outside gives Matt Kenseth the boost back to the front.
Yeah, that 20 car is pretty darn strong. I mean, he's the guy right now. He's got the fastest car, looks to me like.
But Darrell, it's almost like he's driving out the back window as much as he is the windshield, just trying to see which line is moving behind him.
Remember, he has a new spotter. Matter of fact, we had an accident here yesterday. He kind of blamed it on the spotter that he didn't clear him. So he's working with a new guy. They may not have their communication down real well yet.
Look at the run that Joey Logano got in that 22 car on the bottom, and he really didn't have anyone behind him pushing him. Drove right up there on the bottom going into 3.
That is Brad Keselowski's new teammate in that Penske Racing. Joe Benzel Ford, Logano. Jeff Hammond.
Here with Jeff Gordon right now, and Jeff, pretty wild night, pretty short night.
Yeah, that was way too short. I mean, half the battle and goal for this race is to learn something for next weekend's duel and the 500. And I mean, the cars definitely, as far back as I was, they become a handful. A couple laps before that, but handling wasn't an issue. We had good handling. You need a little more speed, so we'll work on that. But I can't tell if guys are just getting out of control or if they're getting hit or what's going on. But, several guys start shuffling back to the back. And right there, I saw somebody get loose on the inside. And then the outside lane somehow was affected by it. And it was a domino by the time it got back to me, and we were in it.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks, Jeff. We just had the first breakaway of the night. Matt Kenseth and Kevin Harvick pulled away from the field by 3 or 4 car lengths coming out of turn 2. And the field caught them all back up by the time they exited turn 4.
Yeah, it does look like that these cars really can get a run. When you get in the right position, just like we saw with Tony Stewart, we saw with Greg Biffle, you see Tony jumping out of line right there. You can get a real run with these things.
And Casey Kane in that 5, the minute Tony went to the bottom in the 14, Casey was right with him.
Remember, no driver-to-driver communication allowed. That was outlawed 1 year ago.
Darrell, we've had 4 or 5 drivers throughout this race log laps over 200 miles per hour average.
5 laps to go in this first segment. Back to Jeff Hammond.
Thanks, Mike. Yeah, I'm down here with Denny Hamlin, one of the victims of that crash. From your viewpoint, could you see what went on?
Yeah, it looked, whatever happened with Stewart, whether he got hit or just got loose, but looked like some guys were starting to fight handling issues just a little bit right before that wreck happened. But shame for our FedEx Camry, but wish we could have ran a little bit more, but it's part of this race, and we at least handled the elimination part already.
Appreciate your time.
Hamlin's number 11 ended up in the fence. Coming off turn 4 to complete 26 laps. 1 caution flag early, 7 cars involved.
Look who's coming back to the front, Larry. Making a charge up that outside again, Tony Stewart.
Got a little help there. Martin Truex Jr. in the 56 and 3 or 4 other drivers right behind him.
Next time by would be the last opportunity to pit under green. Doubt there'd be any takers since there's a 4-tire stop mandated at the end of this thing.
Yeah, I think the only way that would have been an element if the fans had voted to no pit stop as far as changing tires. I think they would have come in and gotten fuel before that caution.
But I think it shows how knowledgeable the fans are that have been doing the voting. They're voting for racing on the track, not some trick gimmick thing. It's all about being on the track.
So as the last car in line, that is Marcus Ambrose, comes past the commit line now, pit road closes. And we have 3 to go in this first segment.
what I like about what the fans voted, that's going to take fuel strategy out of this race, because they're going to be able to come in, get 4 tires, fill it up with fuel, and then we'll have roughly 45 laps to go with the 2 segments at the end.
Steve?
Mike, interesting insight from Dale Earnhardt Jr. He told his team the outside line will accordion so bad and we would all go backwards. It was weird. Bottom line works the best.
Yeah, that outside line doesn't look it's working too good, except for Tony Stewart. He's out there and making moves, man.
Here he comes again.
Strong horse right there. That 14 car, Tony Stewart, is looking racy.
Looking back from Stewart, that is Martin Truex. Traveling with Stewart. Matt Kenseth alongside, now in 3rd.
Martin's able to get just close enough to Tony to give him that shove that he needs. He's up on that right side where you got to be to make a push.
But Kenseth's car is so strong. He went back to the point unaided.
Tony Stewart's pretty sneaky. He might decide that, well, I don't think I'll show Matt everything I got right now.
Dale Earnhardt Jr. in 88 was making a run on the outside, then he got drop kicked backwards. You can see he's still losing spots.
29 complete at the stripe. Kenseth the leader. One more lap in this first of 3 segments of tonight's Sprint Unlimited.
Here comes Tony.
Tony Stewart is just not ready to give it up on the outside, and now he's got a little bit of help from Kevin Harvick in the 29.
And Matt has, and Kenseth has no help.
5 with you. You're clear. You're clear by.
Well, you do the math. 1 Toyota against 3 Chevrolets lined up on the outside.
Kenseth's able to hold his own pretty darn good down there all by himself. Here comes help. Carl Edwards in the 99's trying to get up there, but Smoke's got this segment, I think, under control.
No points, no money for leading the segment.
Well, now
he'll be the first on to pit road, and it will be Tony Stewart to lead segment 1 at the conclusion of 30 laps. Matt Kenseth second, Kevin Harvick, Carl Edwards, Casey Kane. The top 5. Biffle, Truex, Montoya, Almirola, Logano, the top 10. Ambrose and Earnhardt are the 12 cars running at the end of 30 laps.
Okay, boys, let's take a deep breath. Whew. This kind of racing makes me a little tense.
Now they will have to hit pit road and take 4 tires. They'll put fuel in it, and it's basically a race off pit road, just like a caution coming out in a normal race condition.
And that is the difference between the 2 segment breaks. In this one, the first car off pit road will be the first car to restart. In the next segment break, the way they come in is the way they will go out. It's a no win, no lose pit stop. But
Mike,
that comes later.
Tony Stewart, Dale Earnhardt was a master at these short sprint races like this because he was so aggressive. Tony Stewart runs a lot of 30-lap features in his sprint car and his midgets. I think that really pays off. The urgency to get to the lead and win this thing in a very short race sometimes compliments these guys like Tony Stewart, I think.
Pit road closed this time around as the pace car will pick up the field down at turn 1.
It's like a little Saturday night short track race somewhere for Tony.
Last year's winner of this race, Kyle Busch, got himself in similar trouble to what happened to Stewart earlier. He came back from a brush with the apron and a slides and sparks, not once but twice, to win it last year.
And the old car was beaten up pretty well, and he was able to pass Tony coming to the start-finish line.
Now, since there was no qualifying, the pit stalls were assigned to the drivers. I actually like where Tony Stewart's pitting, which is well down toward the exit of pit road.
And this is just the start of the Sprint Cup portion of Speed Weeks at Daytona. Tomorrow on Fox, Daytona 500 pole qualifying. 1 p.m. Eastern Time, Danica Patrick was fastest in today's practice. Can she become the 11th different pole winner in a row for the Great American Race? Tune into Fox tomorrow to find out. The fans voted at NASCAR.com and on their smartphones for a 4-tire mandatory pit stop during this break.
And, you know, we talked about all they've done to build these race cars. I promise you, these pit crews, they've been practicing all winter long, but it's been 3 months since they did it in race conditions, in the race on pit road, having to jump across the wall and with competition.
And this winter, like in any major professional sports team, there are changes of personnel and people working together for the first time.
And we've seen drivers in testing and even in practice come down pit road and make a simulated stop on pit road because they haven't made a pit stop either.
Steve Burns.
And to that point, Matt Puccia, the crew chief for Greg Biffle, said don't slam on the brakes too hard and pin the nose of the car to pit road. Biffle saying the car is a little bit draggy. Krista?
Matt Kenseth being reminded that his car is yellow and the number is 20. Remember, he's with a new group this year, 4 tires. This is the first stop for Matt Kenseth. He did not come in before. Meanwhile, Kevin Harvick back in for a second time, 4 tires again. Matt?
Tony Stewart said his car is simply amazing. He can generate momentum on the top or in the bottom lane. He needed his car snugged up and just a little too free as that fuel burned off, but his car very strong.
And the big winner on pit stops, Kevin Harvick. The closer comes out first.
Because he came in third, so he beat 2 other drivers off pit road.
15 laps in, 7 cars hard into the wall and to the garage. 1 out of 3 segments complete in Daytona.
Sprint Unlimited is sponsored by Budweiser. Great times are waiting. Grab some buds. We welcome you back live to Daytona. 2 segments to go. The fan voting, and thanks for getting involved here. Remember, you can vote on a couple of things as you have already. We asked you about the elimination, and you voted not to eliminate anybody, although you heard Denny Hamlin at the end of the segment already joke about the 7 cars involved in the wreck that we've done our own eliminating. Still one more thing to vote on your Sprint phone, or however you can vote. Go to NASCAR.com/Sprint Unlimited, and that is the fire suit for Miss Sprint Cup.
That's what we're voting on right now.
Yes, we're going to vote on your suit, Brad Keselowski, in a moment. But watching as 19 drivers started this, and the Gen 6 car for the first time in a race here at Daytona, and aggressive on lap 15. In fact, Brad said Tony Stewart the guy to watch, and Michael, he was aggressive.
Yeah, he dove to the bottom to try to take the lead early in the going and causes this big crash. But you know what, Chris? That hasn't slowed Tony Stewart down. He went back to the top side of the racetrack. Very aggressive move around Matt Kenseth on the outside, and he wound up leading at the first break. So aggressive fashion sometimes causes wrecks, and other times it gets you the lead.
Well, you know, Michael, that's why Tony Stewart's so good at this style of racing. It's right in his wheelhouse. Darrell, you nailed it when you said sprint car racing, short races, got to get up there, got to get to the lead right away, and Tony's doing it. And that's usually what wins these races if you don't get caught up in the wreck.
Yeah, 25 laps and then 20 laps in the final segment. But remember, in the last 5 of these races, the leader with 5 laps to go has not been the winner.
And these guys have been able to make those moves. I'm liking what I'm seeing with this car. Not a lot of pushing, Darrell, guys up top, but you've seen them make runs and really abrupt moves to the inside or the outside. So that bodes well for how this thing's going to wind down.
Well, Michael, look at the front of the pack. It's all type AA personalities. Darrell, you said you got to be aggressive. They're all right there.
You got to want it. And I can tell you right now, I talked to Tony when the race was starting. I could tell it was something in his voice that told me he was going to get the job done tonight. He wants to win this race.
Yeah, it looks like if you're going to win it, you're going to have to beat him or Matt Kenseth. But I like what I see with Kevin Harvick and Casey Kane, and they had great pit stops when they came to pit road that time.
I like Kenseth's car. He's been able to put it high, put it low, and put it back to the front without help. Segment 2, 25 laps. Green laps, caution laps, all count. Then we'll get to the final segment of 20 laps. So we're at the midterm segment right now. Green flag, and Greg Biffle on the outside pushes Kevin Harvick's number 29 to the lead.
Yeah, Kevin Harvick was the leader, and he chose the outside line for this restart.
You know, Greg Biffle in the 16 car, early in the run in the first segment, seemed to have a car that could run up front, but it fell off a little bit at the end of the race. Maybe they made some good adjustments with tires, and Biffle can be a play.
Look at Harvick all by his lonesome. Can he clear Stewart? No. Tony comes back on the bottom with a little drafting help from Casey Kane in the 5.
Didn't go below the yellow line. He just went on the yellow line. I think that's acceptable.
Really aggressive side drafting is what we're seeing here, DW. And you know what? For Tony, it's working.
Yeah, he's a master at that. He knows how to get along that door and just get that perfect pull from that car, even from the side of it. It doesn't have to be along, right up behind it, along the side of it.
And look how it rocketed him right to the front.
Yes, sir.
Kane now in second, Kenseth, the yellow car, third, and Harvick on the outside with Biffle.
there's a little pocket of air out there when you're alongside a car.
Krista?
Mike, Kevin Harvick may be on the move because, well, like father, like son. You see, Keelan, their little son, was on the move today. In fact, he crawled for the very first time.
Well, his dad is doing a little bit more than crawling right now. He's up there running.
Yeah, Kevin put Keelan in the driver's seat during pre-race ceremonies, maybe for a little luck here.
I think Harvick is determined for Keelan to be a driver. They had put him in everything in the world ever since he was 3 months old. Got his own little race car.
That group behind Kevin Harvick in the 29, they keep trying to get to him to push him, but it's almost like right there when they turn off in the corner, Darrell, that's where Tony Stewart really seems to pull away in that 14.
He's got some good corner speed, but that 29 is not a slouch either. He's pretty good down this back chute. Watch him.
Catch and release. That's what Casey Kane is doing to that back bumper of Tony Stewart's 14, pushing him down the back straightaway, releasing when they get to the corner.
Tony said it feels like the car in front of you has a big spring on it. Sometime you'll get up there and it'll spring the car in the front forward, and sometime it'll spring your car back. Tony Stewart's a smart guy when it comes to drafting at Daytona. He's won 18 races here.
Looking back from Stewart, here comes Harvick once again with Biffle, Logano, and Earnhardt on the outside this time.
I just believe that Greg Biffle is just not, he can't help Harvick a whole lot. He gets up there and helps him get to the lead, but he falls off. He can't stay there.
Darrell, you're a little surprised that with the lead of Harvick got there that he didn't jump down to the bottom, but now he's got them 2 by 2 behind him coming through the trough.
Larry, that's what I call it, working both sides of the street. You watch that mirror, and whichever line's coming, that's the one you get in front of.
You just saw a preview of Kevin Harvick's last lap move. He's out there going to school on this crowd and figuring out how to beat him.
He's building his notebook.
Yes, he is.
Well, all I can tell you is a bunch of hungry hounds behind him.
Steve.
And one of those hounds at Joey Logano in the 22, his first ride with Penske after moving over from Gibbs. Now, he said that his car feels a little four-wheel drift in the center of the corner.
That's not comfortable.
Matt?
Continuing to learn down in the 14 pit. Now, before that caution in that pit stop, Tony Stewart had learned something working with Martin Truex Jr. about how close he wanted Martin to be to his car. Steve Addington moments ago walked down and talked to the 5 team, and Kenny Francis told them to tell Casey Kane exactly how close they needed that 5 so they could get optimum speed.
35 laps complete in all, 5 complete in the middle segment of 25 laps. Kevin Harvick with a Chevrolet out in front of Greg Biffle's Ford and Joey Logano's Ford.
Sprint Unlimited is sponsored by Chevy Silverado, the one you depend on, the one that lasts. By Geico, 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance. And by Taco Bell, sometimes you gotta live Moss. Nascar and Fox live from Daytona, where Kevin Harvick, former Daytona 500 winner, is your leader. Tony Stewart, who had led, dropped back to 10th. Mike Joyce has got to work his way back up through the field.
He's doing that, Chris. He's back up to 9th after falling to 10th. And now side by side with Carl Edwards for 8th place. Out in front comes Harvick off turn number 4. 8 Sprint Unlimited starts, 2 victories. 2009 and 10, 6 top 10 finishes in this race. We've got a new generation of race cars and a new generation of camera for you to enjoy. This is our Fox Gen 6 cam, suspended on catenary over the entire length of the tri-oval area and beyond here at Daytona.
I wish you would look the run that Tony Stewart got down in turns 1 and 2. I mean, he closed the gap from where he was
down there, clear low.
right to the front. What'd you see there, Mikey?
He jumped all the way to the back, and then he just raced all the way to the front. I love the way these cars are racing. You know why? They run up top. They're in a line. They're just maybe trying to log some laps, some of the guys are thinking. Tony Stewart, Truex there. We've seen others dive to the bottom and said, I'm not going to log any laps. I'm going to race you boys. And these cars are very racy.
Yeah, that's one thing you cannot do in this kind of an event. You cannot log laps. You better have the pedal to the metal when the green flag drops, and don't take anything. You just got to go.
And that light blue car on the inside, fourth back, Casey Kane, drifted back about 5 car lengths behind the entire pack, caught them all back up, started passing cars again.
Yeah, actually Stewart, Kenseth in the 20, and Kane, all 3 of those drivers went almost all the way to the back of the pack, and now here they are working their way back up through there.
I've just seen this so many times here with guys like Tony Stewart, really smart, savvy drafters. They just play around a little bit. They go to the back, see how long it takes them to get back to the front and what line they got to get in to do it.
Harvick holds a 1-car length lead at 42 laps. This segment would end at lap 55.
See, Tony Stewart now has a little posse, and they're coming up there, and they're going to take over the lead.
Now, the running order at the end of this segment matters because the way you come onto pit road will be the way you leave pit road. So leading this segment at lap 55 will be important.
There's one thing I have not seen yet. That's somebody lay into the back bumper of somebody and push them very far around the racetrack. Maybe a little on the straightaway, but not much in the corner.
We hadn't seen that white flag wave yet.
I'm just waiting. I'm just saying. That 14 car is pretty stout, boys.
He was trying to do that side drafting off Kevin Harvick in the 29 right there as they were getting off into turn 1.
Well, that's a dozen right there, and the hotline is on. Brad?
You look at the side drafting that Tony's doing, it's working very well. That's part of how he's gotten all the way to the front. The key thing is, though, to beat the side draft, you pot up, and that's what they're doing right now. Tony's going to go backwards right here.
I never knew about side drafting. Dale Earnhardt taught most of us about side drafting. We would see him do it. We didn't know what he was doing and how he was doing it. And people would say, well, it's because he could see the air. I don't think anybody can see the air, but Dale had a way of feeling the air, and he could feel that air coming off the side of a car, and he figured out he could pull up beside a guy and slow him down and get a slingshot by him.
45 complete next time by. 10 laps to the end of segment 2. Harvick back to the front ahead of Greg Biffle and Joey Logano. Yeah, a little bit of bump drafting on a Saturday night. Welcome back to Daytona as they come off turn 4. It'll be 6 laps left in segment 2 of tonight's Sprint Unlimited. These cars are so sensitive to the air. We'll show you what happened when Joey Logano's number 22, the yellow car, gets a little free. Dale Earnhardt Jr. has to come down the racetrack. That takes the air off the nose of Tony Stewart's 14, and Stewart comes right up into Earnhardt.
Yeah, remember the 22 was complaining about being a little free in the middle of the corner. When Junior ducked out from behind him, that caused him to get a little loose. Junior goes down the hill. Here comes smoke, and that save.
Yeah, that's exactly what I saw at DW. This air pockets are so critical to running well at Daytona, and if you want to win the Sprint Unlimited, you're going to have to use every one of them to get to the front.
Brad, I mean, you talked to me about a bubble, like there's a bubble of air. And
yeah, those bubbles are what these cars work on. That's what makes the draft go.
We listened in on Tony Stewart.
Sorry about that. It just took the nose away.
Carl Edwards to the inside of Stewart. Jockeying for position in the last 5 laps of segment 2. That one car lonesome trailing the train is Dale Earnhardt Jr.
After that little incident right there, I mean, it kind of took the wind out of Dale Jr.'s sail. You can see he's got some damage to his left rear. It's hurt the performance of the car.
Well, the good news is in about 4 laps, he'll be able to come to pit road. And as you said, Mike, you don't lose any positions by what goes on pit road during this next caution at the end of segment 2.
10 up high, 1 down low. Casey Kane trying to come from the back in the light blue Farmer Chevy, but can't make any headway on Matt Kenseth.
And Carl Edwards in that 99 car back there, he has been like an accordion. He'll work his way to the front, get shuffled to the back. That's happened about 5 times to him. Remember, he started at the rear because this is a backup car from the crash yesterday.
Just telling you, this is a nice Brad Paisley song. We've been in single file for a little while.
3 laps left in segment 2 when they come back to the stripe. Kevin Harvick has been out front for the last 8 laps. We'll make it 9 as they come across. Harvick, Biffle, Logano. And Truex. Steve?
The comment from Dale Earnhardt Jr., you see him towards the back. He just says, I get loose when I'm away from the front car in the draft. So he's trying to get back up there, Mike.
I tell you another thing, too. I think if Kevin Harvick did the math real quick, Biffle, Logano, and Ambrose, he might get ganged up here coming to the end of this segment. You can see Dale Jr.'s got a significant amount of damage on the left side of his car.
Laps left in segment 2. And here's where Junior's troubles might have started. You're on board Tony Stewart. Pretty significant contact there.
Put a Goodyear on tour.
Lap and a half, last chance to gain position for the final scheduled stop.
Daryl, I think you may be right, because you talked about Logano and Ambrose, second, third, and fourth, all Ford drivers. They may very well try something here, if nothing else, just to try to learn for the end of this race.
Yeah, but also they know that they're going to come out of the pits in the position they're running in. You might not want to give that up either, so you may just ride it to the finish. But I believe if I was Harvick, I'd be keep an eye on those guys, because they may make a run on him down the back here.
Last lap of segment 2. Harvick in command. Truex to the bottom. Gets a little help from Stewart.
Needs some help. Got some pretty good help right there.
Will be scored at the line. Truex alongside Ambrose. Eases ahead into 4th. Takes to the top side. That leaves Stewart on the bottom with Kenseth. Here they come to the line. Harvick will lead segment 2 from Biffle, Logano, Stewart, Truex. Too close to call would be Kenseth and Ambrose. They'll be on pit road shortly, and we'll get set for the final 20 laps of tonight's Sprint Unlimited.
Sprint Unlimited is sponsored by Sprint. Millions of fans, one family, only can feed them all. Join the family at sprint.com/feed. 2 segments down. Mike Joy, 20 laps to go.
This should be the final pit stop of the night.
Greg Biffle says his car is pretty good. They're going to add some tape to the nose of that Ford, make a chassis adjustment. Martin Truex Jr. saying his only shot to win is a ride with the 20 or the 14, Krista.
Gil Martin, crew chief for Kevin Harvick, reminding his crew a normal pit stop. Don't do anything we wouldn't normally do. They're changing the 4 tires. The most important thing, Kevin Harvick said, I have no issues. Matt?
Tony Stewart's car so impressive tonight. He says the car, though, free on entry through center of the corner. He said, you need to really tighten me up because this next segment is going to be very ornery.
Thank you, folks. Now, the cars are stationary because NASCAR will line them up in the order in which they entered pit road. No gain, no loss of position pit stop. Everybody taking a little extra time before we run the final 20 laps on Saturday in Daytona Beach.
Spot the new 2018 Ford 150 with EcoBoost by Samsung Galaxy. By Aaron's. You don't need credit. All you need is Aaron's. And by Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on insurance. We're live here in Daytona. 20 laps and aerial coverage provided by Goodyear. Everything we learn making tires that face the fence of NASCAR inspires what we roll into yours. Goodyear, the official tire of NASCAR. In the first segment on lap 15, Tony Stewart with an aggressive move, creating a 7-car wreck. Remember, just 19 cars starting the Sprint Unlimited. The Gen 6 car in its first race, and drivers taken out included Jeff Gordon, Denny Hamlin, Jimmy Johnson. And your segment 1 winner was Tony Stewart. But an aggressive move later.
Yeah, he's coming off turn 4 here. And you can see Dale Jr. low on Logano, and Tony Stewart runs out of room and gets all over Dale Jr. Look at him. He's into the side of him. And you know, we're riding along with him here. Never lifted off the gas. You said you don't need any credit. It's a good thing Tony used all his up.
And at the end of segment 2, your segment leader is Kevin Harvick. And as we welcome you back with Michael Waltrip, Chris Myers enjoying the race, the Sprint Unlimited, Brad Keselowski, and you at the beginning of the pre-race show mentioned Harvick and Stewart in the Gen 6 car. With 12 drivers remaining and 20 laps to go, they're the guys to beat.
Absolutely. Well, I love what I see in this Gen 6 car, and that is the same old thing you always see in racing, or you should see in racing. Aggressive drivers are being rewarded. They're driving to the front. And Tony Stewart, Kevin Harvick, they're aggressive, and they love Daytona.
You know what I love? They get in a line, but they don't stay there. These cars spread out. They're able to make moves, and it's going to be a fun race to follow to the finish. You talked about Tony Stewart. We've seen how fast he was. Also, Kevin Harvick. But there's also guys laying there. Joey Logano is one of them that I've seen. Has a really fast car. Things far from over.
3 of the last 4 events here have been decided on a lap. So that's one thing to stay tuned for also. And I know Brad's been waiting all night. Fans for having voted at NASCAR.com/limited. But your voting is all in, but we will reveal the outfit, the Fire and Cup.
NASCAR's red carpet. Here it comes.
I'm perplexed. I like them all.
Meanwhile, we have 20. We're going to check in. Ready with Dale Earnhardt Jr. Steve Burns is ready with an update on the 88 car. Steve?
Well, Chris, at the break, Dale Earnhardt Jr. says the engine sounds a little bit sick, but it hasn't lost any power. I checked with the crew. They said the gauges all look good. And also, there's no rub on the left rear of the 88. Let's go to Jeff.
Information.
Steve, a lot of talk about what's going to happen in these final 20 laps. And we've already seen one big crash, and I think Darrell Waltrip said it best. I don't think the crashing is done yet. And the reason for that, everybody thinking about there's going to be more crashes, Hendrick Motorsports is prepared. They have 5 body plates back in Charlotte, and they are ready in case they tear up any more race cars. The 48 and the 24 are already on their way back to Charlotte, and we'll be back down here as backup car for the Daytona 500, guys.
We have seen some wrecks, but tonight here, the pushing really hasn't caused a wreck.
No, we saw a good push at the start of the race, a couple of break on, but since then, no one's really tipped yet.
Oh, it's Michael.
It's coming,
really
right?
early, and it's definitely coming. What you're seeing is to make moves, you side draft to each other and pull away. To beat this, I know this, but for the fan home, you have to push draft. And the more aggressive you are, the better that's going to work, and the more able you are to wreck as well.
And Darrell, he says it's late in this, our final 20 laps.
It really is, Chris. And this is the you're probably going to tick somebody off segment.
Sure.
Because this is when you're going to do whatever it takes to win this race. This is for all the marbles. This is the showdown right here.
Well, in segment 1, Matt Kenseth and Tony Stewart were class of the field. Segment 2, Kevin. Who's going to come out of the pack and surprise us in segment 3?
Well, what Michael said, I keep watching those 2 Fords back there, Greg Biffle and Joey Logano, but with 20 laps to go to get to victory lane, all these drivers have 4 fresh tires. I would say of the 12 that's out there, all of them believe they can go to victory lane.
Ready to go for 20 laps in the final segment of the Sprint Unlimited. Field comes out of turn 4. 12 remain of the 19 starters.
Here's what I believe. I believe that 14 and the 29 get together and they can work together. That's the winning combination.
Harvick elected the outside. Biffle the inside. Stewart pushing Harvick. Logano pushing Biffle. Here we go.
Yeah, Matt Kenseth in that 20, he was pushing Tony Stewart in the 4.
Top 3 you're pushing here. Let's roll.
You see Biffle getting up there. He knows he's in trouble. He's want to try to squeeze in right here behind Matt Kenseth if he can, or he's going to go way back.
No, that hole filled up. Casey Kane, or excuse me, Carl Edwards right there.
I just believe those 2 cars at 29 and 14. I know Matt's fast. We'll see what he can do with these guys.
Look at the run that Matt Kenseth in that 20 car got. He just drives by Kevin Harvick there.
Not quite. He drives up to him, and it kind of like he hits that arrow of wall of air, and it slows him. Tell you what, at 29, Kevin Harvick, he led him to the checkers in the last segment, and he's right back at him. He's going to be hard to handle.
Harvick, Stewart, Logano up top. Matt Kenseth on the bottom. He's got Greg Biffle with him, then Truex and Ambrose.
Matt Kenseth needs somebody to help him. He really needs another Toyota to get up there and help him. But you got to remember something. Those two guys at 20 and a 16, they're teammates from last year, and they're still good friends.
He keeps trying to chip away at it at the bottom, Darrell.
It's really who can get up there and help. If Tony can stay up there with the 29 and help, great. If Matt can stay, if Biffle can stay with Matt, great.
Krista?
Well, one thing Matt Kenseth said before this segment started, his car needed a little more grip. He was mostly loose, but not bad. He just came on the radio and said, I had to take a shot at the lead. Get me back in line when you can.
Looks like the only space in line is going to be at the front. Here comes Kenseth again with a big run into turn number 3. He comes dead even with Harvick. Can he get further? Not this time.
He's got to have some help, Mike. He's got to have that 16 car of Biffle get up there and help him if he's going to break through that wall of air.
And Darrell, it's almost like he's so strong that he keeps pulling away from Greg Biffle in the 16.
Saw Biffle. Biffle doesn't have a bad race car. He's got a pretty decent car, but he can't quite keep up.
Car length lead. Stewart. On the outside.
Wow.
Joey Logano's 4th, 3rd on the outside. Casey Kane in the blue car, 5th on the high groove. Then Eric Almirola in the 43.
And every guy right here, all 12 of these guys, are all thinking about a strategy. What am I going to have to do in order to get to the lead and win this race?
Coming around to complete 59 of 75 laps. Time for the first 2013 NASCAR on Fox. Crank 'em up. Laps to go. That's what a sustained 8,500 RPM sounds like.
A guy tweeted me. He said, look, my wife's out of town. A bunch of guys in the basement watching the race. Can you crank it up for us?
Well, there you have it.
$15 laps to go to decide the Sprint Unlimited and the first checkered flag for the Sprint Cup Series in 2013. You're watching NASCAR on Fox.
Sprint Unlimited is sponsored by Sprint. Millions of fans, one family, only Sprint can feed them all. Join the family at sprint.com/speed. With Michael Waltrip, Brad Keselowski, Chris Myers, Kevin Harvick led the most laps, followed by Matt Kenseth. And right now, things are heating up even more.
Man, I love this camera, Chris. It makes me feel like I'm a race car driver right now. This is so cool. My heart's beating so fast. Watch this thing lean into the corner. This is what it feels like to be battling side by side at Daytona. How about that?
The graphic goes with it. Brad, you're in the car usually. Kind of fun watching this from the TV booth here.
It's a lot more fun. I'll tell you what, this pack, Chris, is full of more energy than an 8-year-old on Halloween. And you know what happens at the end of the night on Halloween? The kid crashes.
Yeah, that's right, from a sugar crash. And these are pushing hard. And Chris, think about it. We've had a couple of crashes this week in Daytona with no sense of urgency. Things are just starting to boil, and I believe they're going to boil over. These guys can't race this hard and make it all the way to the checker.
Darrell, Larry, Mike.
10 laps to go. Now, Matt Kenseth did lead a lap. He got to the front on the inside, led 1 lap from Kevin Harvick. Joey Logano came down track in a big move that jostled things up and sent Harvick back to the front once again.
And look, you've got 3 of the most aggressive drivers in the sport right now leading this thing. Kevin Harvick, Tony Stewart, and Greg Biffle. They are wheelmen. You have Mr. Restrictor Plate in the 20 car that knew he had, talking about urgency, he knew he needed to get up there and get to the lead because what he was afraid was going to happen is exactly what happened. He's got shuffled back in the pack.
That
Carl Edwards, he has pushed Eric Almirola. We're riding with Carl Edwards, Eric Almirola in the 43. They pushed themselves up to the top 5, running 4th and 5th now.
Here comes Kenseth by himself on the inside.
The thing that Kenseth is having to deal with, Mike, is his car is so fast, a lot of guys can't keep up with him to help him.
9 laps to go in the Sprint Unlimited. We'll take a final break and be back for the finish. 7 laps to go in Daytona. Kevin Harvick head of the train with Tony Stewart right behind him, and Matt Kenseth trying on the inside. And his number 20 may be the best car here, but no one can hang with Kenseth to work with him and get him back to the front. The bump drafting picks up once again. Is it of frustration or of trying to get to the front?
Trying to get to the front, baby, whatever it takes.
Krista on the leader.
There's a huge trust relationship at these tracks between driver and spotter. Longtime spotter for Kevin Harvick, Billy O'Day, is reminding his driver, telling him where everyone else is on the track, especially that number 20 of Matt Kenseth. But Billy O'Day also telling Kevin Harvick, you're in the catbird seat. The top line is the place to be.
And Billy O'Day has helped Kevin Harvick through a couple of wrecks over these last 2 days. One just earlier in this race and then one yesterday.
Well, I don't know if Matt can get back up there or not, but if he has a car that when he goes down in the corner, he can pass 3 or 4 cars, but he's so fast in some places on the track, he can't get any help.
And there is Kenseth, that yellow car, sitting in 8th and riding for a few laps here as we come down to 5 to go. It's a 10-car draft. Marcus Ambrose in 11th has lost the draft, as has Montoya in 12th. 10 drivers to fight it out for the Sprint Unlimited crown and just over $200,000.
Well, if you're the first couple of guys, 2 or 3 guys there, you're hoping everybody minds their manners right here, stays in line, and comes to the white before you have to do anything.
And Darrell, watching Tony Stewart there running in 2nd, remember what he told you under the pace laps. He said, I don't think you can wait to turn 4 like we've done the last few years here.
I think the element of surprise, I think that's what you would expect. Maybe wait till the white flag, wait till turn 4. But I think maybe the element of surprise might pay off. What do you think, Mikey?
I just love the athleticism that these guys are showing right now. They're driving race cars with the physical demands that poses at over 200 miles an hour. And they're thinking, Darrell, every second of the way, how do I position myself? Where do I put this car in order to have a chance to win a race? That is athleticism, physically doing something and mentally thinking every second about how to win. I love this right now.
How about Eric Almirola in 4th place in Richard Petty's number 43? Tomorrow morning, he, Casey Kane, Jimmy Johnson, and Rick Allen will compete in a half marathon here in Daytona Beach.
And our Michael Waltrip.
Mikey's going to run it too. And Burns and I are going to run the .1.
Kenseth again, this time with Truex. How far to the front can he go?
Well, we know Martin Truex Jr. in that 56 has been a pretty good pusher throughout this race from the very drop of the green flag.
I think that's the only way Kenseth's got a chance. He's got to have a Toyota to help him because he just hasn't been able to get any help from any of the other guys.
He side drafted off Martin Truex, and that 4-car group is losing touch with the 6 leaders.
Yeah, it's too late, I think. I don't believe he's got to, even though he's fast, he can't get up there now.
Well, and remember, Matt Kenseth, he lost his 2 teammates in that early wreck on lap 15, Denny Hamlin and Kyle Busch, so I'm sure he feels like he's out there on an island by himself.
So it's a 6-car shuffle coming off turn number 4. 2 laps to go. Harvick, Stewart, Biffle, Almirola, Carl Edwards, Joey Logano.
A lot of Fords there, Larry, lined up between those 2 Chevrolets.
Yeah,
what do you think?
2 Chevys at the front, 4 Fords lined up behind.
And Carl Edwards has lost the right side window on his car. He's being posted to come to pit road.
Okay. How many laps we got to go?
2.
Yeah, I don't think, you know, they're for where he's running, but I don't see him coming to pit road.
Nah, you're not going to come to pit road. Not in this race.
Off turn 4 and facing the white flag.
Here we go. If whatever you got, we're going to find out right now.
Logano to the bottom. Will he have help?
Here comes Kenseth. That could be a real potent couple right there. Those two get together. Those are two. Tony Stewart and Kevin Harvick better look out.
Harvick stays high and Stewart drops low. Harvick to block. Stewart even lower. And up the outside comes Biffle. He can't get to the front as Harvick goes back to the top lane. Chevy Ford. And here we come.
Right on you. Half a lane up.
For $200,000, Kevin Harvick leads him on turn number 4 with Greg Biffle. Stewart in third. Logano fourth. Kenseth fifth. Kevin Harvick wins the Sprint Unlimited.
Yeah, boys, nice job.
It's a win in his 9th start in the Unlimited. He ties Tony Stewart and Dale Jarrett for second most in victories, behind Dale Earnhardt 6. And Harvick has won 3 of the last 5.
He did some of the best mirror driving you're going to see. When Greg Biffle got that run, I thought he might have something up on that outside, but when Harvick slid right up in front of him, that won him the race. Watch this. Here he comes, and you watch Tony Stewart's going to try to make a move here. He thinks that maybe he can get some help from Logano in the 22. There's a block, but Logano can't keep up with Tony. So here comes Harvick back to the outside. Biffle's got all the momentum in the world right there, but Harvick puts a little block on him. From there on, smooth sailing.
Clear high, clear high, clear high.
Watch his eyes, watch his eyes.
Right on you. Right on you. Watch the inside now. Right on you. Right on you. Half a lane up.
Daryl, if Kevin had waited 1 split second later, it would not have been pretty different.
It wouldn't have. It would have got really ugly off turn 4.
Kevin Harvick gives car owner Richard Childress his 8th win in the Sprint Unlimited, and that's the most of all teams that have competed in the 35-year history of this event.
I think he might have broken it right there. That one. Oh boy. Turning over okay.
Did it? Think so?
Think it did.
Oh well.
What the heck?
They don't mind. They'll go push in the victory lane.
Way. This begins Kevin Harvick's final season with Richard Childress Racing. He'll move over and be a teammate to Tony Stewart in 2014.
At the end of 2012, he floated it out there that he probably would not return after 2013. He wins the next to the last race of the year at Phoenix, and here he starts off by winning the Sprint Unlimited.
Larry, he told me, he said one of the things that he wanted to be able to do was leave this team a winning. He wanted to be a winner when he left his team. And he wanted this team to be in great shape when he left there.
And he can always lay claim to fame. He won the very first race in the Generation 6 car.
They need to hit the reset button. I think it's the ECU unit they need to hit the button.
I think they need to push the victory lane and forget it.
He told the crew not to touch it. Well, he'd like to light him up. The 75 laps were unlimited, and now here comes the wrecker for a push.
And guess what? I bet it'll be real gentle, too.
That's awesome. I broke it. I know. I don't care.
I know. I don't care. We don't need any more tonight anyway.
That's one for the lame ducks, right? It's just a matter of how many we can get. More to come. That's right.
Kevin Harvick and car owner Richard Childress. Well, we said we didn't expect much bump drafting in the Sprint Unlimited, but they will bump draft Kevin Harvick to victory lane.
NASCAR on Fox, the Sprint Unlimited. We're live in Daytona. 37-year-old Kevin Harvick in the Gen 6 car celebrating in victory lane, and Matt Yoakum is there.
Chris, the night started out with little Keelan sitting in Dad's future winning race car. So much, Kevin, was unknown going into tonight. You knew Stewart was going to make a move. Was it the move that you expected him to try? And what was it like just sitting there waiting?
Yeah, well, I was really kind of nervous about the 20 and the 14. I thought their cars were a little bit better than what we had. But I want to thank Sprint and the race fans. This was for everybody sitting in the stands and at home. Budweiser, Ream, Jimmy John, Chevrolet, Bad Boy Buggies, Realtree, everybody that puts this team on the racetrack. And good way to start off Speed Weeks.
You know, you talk about this team, and you even said on the radio, what kind of statement does this send to the folks that were uttering the lame duck phrase for this year?
Yeah, you know, I think it's just one of those deals where, for us, it's really about winning races. The politics and everything are one thing, but when we get to the racetrack, it's about sitting in this race car and making it as fast to go as it'll go. And those guys, they don't care about anything but winning and wanting to do good. So we owe it to them and everybody at Budweiser. And I guess we just had to take their name off the race to win it. So it was an awesome day for us.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Win number 3 here in the Sprint Unlimited. Chris?
Thanks, Matt. As Kevin Harvick said, going into this year's final with Richard Childress Racing, I want to leave it better than I found it before he moves on, and certainly a lot to accomplish. With Michael Waltrip, Brad Keselowski, our guest analyst. You did good so far, picking Stewart and Harvick at the beginning. Fatherhood, treating Kevin Harvick very well, and the aggressive driving. What did we learn about the Generation 6 car tonight?
Well, I think we saw that Kevin Harvick, Tony Stewart, the guys that really drive aggressively are rewarded, and that's, I think, a really key thing. We also saw Greg Biffle made a great move for the lead at the end, but Kevin Harvick drove more aggressive, made it work, and that's what won him the race.
I really like being a part of the Fox team. I'm glad he's got a job. I mean,
he's pretty good.
Wanders up in here, picks the winner the first segment, picks the race winner. But I agree with Brad 100%. The guys that are aggressive made it happen. And one thing I was disappointed at the end was people were trying to figure out what to do. It's a new car. There's new challenges. And so nobody really made a move. The first guy to move was Logano, who dove down from the 4th or 5th spot, got 3rd at the end. And I think maybe if they'd have moved a little bit sooner, and that's what everybody watching, like Brad and even the guys in the race, will say, all right, maybe we got to make that move a little sooner next time.
Well, I remember Tony Stewart said it'll be 10 minutes, I'll figure things out, and he did right away with that aggressive driving. As we welcome in the guys from the booth, it should set things up nicely for the Daytona 500 a week from Sunday.
Well, Kevin Harvick led 40 of 75 laps, but Matt Kenseth is known for his patience, but tonight he tried everything to get to the front. He just couldn't get any help.
No, but I am really, really happy with this race car. There's so many doubts about how this thing was going to race with the little rear spoiler. Was it going to be too loose? Could they run 3 wide? Could they draft? Could they bump? We didn't see a lot of pushing and shoving, but we saw a great race and an exciting finish. And Kevin Harvick, he loves this kind of race. And his old car owner, he's pretty happy about this too, because it makes a statement to the rest of these guys. He may be leaving, but we ain't done yet.
Yeah, and he's leaving, but a couple of new faces in new places. How about Joey Logano now over at Penske Racing, Matt Kenseth at Joe Gibbs Racing, getting top 5 finishes. That's a good way to start this new season with their new ride.
Kevin Harvick celebrates as we go to Steve Burns.
Tony, what happened early in the race when the big wreck broke loose?
I got a big run on the 20, and I went to the bottom. I thought I was clear. The spotter did not clear me, so I went on my own. Thought I had enough of a run to be clear of the 3rd place guy, and I'm pretty sure I clipped whoever was in 3rd. So I made a move for the lead, and probably was a little anxious too early. But it was I was kind of stagnant where I was at, and I was having fun moving forward and felt racy.
Thank you.
It was a split-second decision by Kevin Harvick, kind of a double block move to hold off Tony Stewart and Greg Biffle. Chevy edges Ford in the Sprint Unlimited. We'll have more from Daytona in a moment. Terrific move by Harvick to win, an aerial coverage provided by Goodyear. Everything we learned, making tires that face the growing demands of NASCAR, inspires what we roll into yours. Goodyear, the official tire of NASCAR.
I talked about athleticism and split-second moves. Watch what Harvick did there twice. That's amazing that he was able to squeeze his car up in front of Biffle, and that drove him off to the win. What a great last lap Kevin Harvick drove.
A former Daytona 500 winner, and for the 3rd time in the last 5 years, he has captured this event and the Sprint Unlimited, and we thank you for your voting involvement tonight and the fire suit selected for Miss Sprint Cup. Brad Keselowski, I know you were waiting for that.
Are you on board with those, Brad?
My favorite part, NASCAR, Oscars, it's almost the same. But thanks for having me here, guys.
Yeah, out of your fire suit, you'll be back in there tomorrow for the front row pole qualifying and then opening defense again of your championship a week from Sunday in the Daytona 500.
Yeah, you know, Miller Lite Ford, we'll be back, ready to go. We got to defend our title next weekend, Daytona 500. Let's do it.
And you'll be there as well.
Yeah.
You're looking for, you guys trade your suits for fire suits. He'll be back out there as well.
I like that other suit better. I got to be honest. This one was nice. My other suit's better.
The Daytona 500 defined my career, winning here before, and every year I can't wait to be a part of this great American race.
Yeah, he reminds me of that always when I see him. I'm a two-time Daytona 500 champ. I go, yeah, okay.
You're a pretty good anchor man.
Pretty good. Next on Fox, your late local news and 30 seconds to fame following that later. Pole qualifying, we mentioned it tomorrow right here from Daytona 500, but 1 Eastern, 10 Pacific. You'll see Michael and Brad Keselowski in action. See who's on the pole in the front row for the 55th running of the Great American Race in a week from Sunday at noon Eastern. The Daytona 500, Kevin Harvick a part of that. For Brad, Michael, I'm Chris Myers, our entire Fox crew. Thanks for being here for the Sprint Unlimited. And join us tomorrow and a week from Sunday for NASCAR on Fox.
Let me take you there. I feel the night is young.
That's one for the lame ducks, right?